Hey guys, Mr. Steckler here. I want to talk to you about proximity. So what proximity is it has to do with font size, boldness, and the font that you choose. Now what I mean by that is that there are a lot of different fonts, and the ones that we choose matter for the viewer. So what I want to go through is give you guys some example of what bad proximity is, good proximity, and how you can build good proximity. So the first thing that you should notice on this is that our font is in the base setting Calibrate Light, and the font is very skinny, and we don't want skinny when it comes to a PowerPoint. We want bold, thick. We want a nice font that stands out. So I'm going to highlight my font over here, and I'm going to go up to change my font, and I'm going to go to one that I often like to use for usually extra bold. So in this case, I can choose Gill Sans Extra Bold. Anything that's very bold, it's going to be a much thicker letter, which makes it stand out a lot more from afar. And I'm also going to increase the size from its normal size to something like 100 or 96. You want it really to be a large font. You don't want it to be so big that it floods off the screen and it goes on to another line. You want it still to be clean, but you want it to be big enough that it takes up, I would say, most of the top line. So your title really stands out. And you also want to make sure that your font is not necessarily the same as your title, but it's large enough with a good font that it's not super skinny. So this font is not a very good font because of how skinny it is. Now, one of my favorite fonts is Rockwell, so I'm going to change this to Rockwell. You can look through the fonts and see if one resonates with you, but I really like Rockwell. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go back over to the slide. I'm going to then make this font a larger size. So 30, too small. I'm going to make this maybe, let's see what 70 looks like. 70, a little too big. 60, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, maybe 50. All right, so I think that this is a nice size for your font so that people can see this from anywhere in the room, and it's nice and thick compared to the original thin font. The second thing that I want to tell you guys is you are able to draw people's attention with proximity with certain words. So you can see over here that right now the words size and boldness stand out just a little bit more than the rest of the words. Even though it's the same font, it's just all I did was I used the bold feature to make it a little bigger. If I were to unbold this, you'd notice all of the different words have the same proximity, the same size. So I could either bold this to try and make it stand out a little bit more, or if I was trying to make a certain word stand out because I was trying to use that word to make it teach the idea of proximity, that proximity is about boldness, that I could perhaps even choose a font like the original one, like Gill Sans. So by choosing that font, I can increase the size and draw your attention to show you that proximity is about boldness, and it also can be about font size. So by changing the size of the font, if I really wanted to stand out, maybe I made this 60. I could change the size, but most importantly is choosing a font that really stands out. And you'll notice I didn't change the color in anything. Proximity isn't about color. It is only about the font choice, the font size, and using those elements to make you look at a word over another. So that is proximity. The last thing that I want you to know is something called the proximity test. This is the proximity test.
Hey guys, Mr. Steckler. So if you are doing something called the proximity test, the way the proximity test works is that you are going to go close to your presentation and then back as far up as you can all the way across the room, so that from across the room you can see the presentation. And if you can't see any of the words from all the way over here, then your words are not big enough, the font is not bold enough, and you need to increase the proximity by changing the font, the boldness, and the combination of the two.
That's it, guys. Go use your proximity test. Like, right now. Stop watching this. Go do it. You're still here? Stop procrastinating.